Thank you. And so I wanted to talk to you about your controversial top 10 list recently of YouTube boxers. And I'm one of those guys that doesn't agree with the list at all.
For sure.
But I'll tell you which ones I don't agree with. I don't agree with, I think Alex Wasabi, you put like
Yeah,
number
he's a
fifth.
little high up. I
Yeah,
understand
he's a
that
little
being
higher.
controversial.
I love Dad. He was on the podcast. I do not
Hmm.
agree with that one at all.
Okay.
And JMX. I think JMX I don't
Yeah.
agree with because of his inactivity.
Yeah, he hasn't fought in a while, and he didn't fight like the greatest people either. I think
Yeah.
and the thing is, like I said, if you were allowed to count MMA, then Bruckner would probably be number one because he has the most fights and all of that. But I said I couldn't count MMA for Bruckner, but then I did count MMA for JMX. So it's a little bit like it's a little all over the place. I understand that, but yeah, JMX I understand being controversial.
And then okay, so for Dad, it's just
Hmm.
we have to see the level of opponent, right? He fought
Yeah,
Matt
for sure.
Watson,
Who's
and
not great? Yeah.
he wasn't really the most technical while getting that knockout. He seemed like he was
Mhm.
just swinging his arms around.
No, I get that. The only thing is that first off, I thought he was the most impressive on the Creator Clash in terms of like there were I guess there were more impressive performances. Like I thought Haley lost and she probably looked like the best.
Yeah,
Um, but obviously Dr. Mike did well. The issue with Dr. Mike was that he was in a lose-lose situation where there was a UFC fight very similar. There was a guy called Dean Barry, an Irish fighter, who was in the UFC a few weeks ago, and
mhm.
he had a fight with a guy called Mike Jackson. And the way that it was all set up, it was like even if Dean beat Mike, he had to do it spectacularly for anyone to respect the win.
Really.
And it was very similar with Dr. Mike. I felt was that if like Dr. Mike, with all the things that were in his favor, he's naturally probably a cruiserweight. Maybe even if he didn't cut weight and if he didn't really train that hard, he could even tip the scales at bridgerweight or heavyweight. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's not a natural, like he is a natural cruiserweight. Idub's naturally a super welterweight. Maybe
Yep, yep.
could probably even fight as low as maybe super lightweight, welterweight. No, maybe not super lightweight, but he could fight at welterweight, I'd imagine, and he got himself up to cruiserweight for his debut. Had been training for less than a year
Mhm.
because he said that in our interview afterwards, where when he did the documentary with Sam Hyde in March 2021, he had never trained properly. So that means that it was like around a year. If you say that the second he came home from that he started training, which I don't think happened, then it would be like a year and a month. Whereas Dr. Mike had been around boxing gyms for his whole life, or a lot of his life, a lot of his adult life, and obviously he doesn't have a great deal of time to be training like for fights, but his fundamentals would have been a lot better. And so it felt like with the nature of that matchup, for Dr. Mike to like really earn to really emerge as like a big star of YouTube boxing, he would have had to do something a little bit more spectacular than he did against Ian. And I thought, but also Ian did really, really well. Like
Yeah,
Ian
he
did a
did.
lot better than we expected. And I
Very
think
well.
Ian would be a problem at welterweight or super welterweight. I
I
think
do too.
I think if Alex, because Alex isn't naturally a 175 light heavyweight either. I think Ian and Alex would be a good fight.
Yep, that's what I've been saying too. I think
But
it's a really good fight.
because Alex would naturally be a bit lower in weight, Ian wouldn't have to come up as much. And yeah, I think that's why, like, because I wanted to put someone from each one of the promotions on. So you
Okay.
had, Jake, who's like a professional, and it's arguable that Jake shouldn't be on the list. Like it's arguable that
Arguable.
he's
Yeah.
not really on the list at all. But I had KSI from all of his stuff. I
Mhm.
had from Social Gloves we had Gibb and Austin McBroom.
Yeah,
From
good.
Social Knockout we had Slim.
Mhm.
From Creator Clash we had Dad, and from Showstar we had Wasabi. And it was tough
Wasabi.
to put someone from Showstar on because like nobody really performed that well that night. Like I
Yeah.
thought Temper was all right, but once again, it's like he's fought once. He went the distance. He didn't even like he won a UD, I think, but not convincingly enough that the judges didn't give it to him on the night. Like I think Temper also to get on a list like that with just one fight, you need to do something spectacular. And I
Okay.
think 22 seconds of a knockout, anyone who's been around boxing knows, particularly with exhibition rules, with like big gloves on, first fight of the night on a new promotion, all of that stuff, it's very difficult to get a referee to step in within 20 seconds. And it was actually 21 seconds by the time the fight was over. So I just thought, like, you land a knockout like that over, by the way, someone 20 years younger than you. Like, he's 41, which means he's way past his
Okay.
athletic peak, even if he had, like, even if he had the more experience, whereas Matt's around 21, 22, something like that, I think. Or maybe he might be 25 or whatever, but that's like the point at which it would be the easiest for you to get in good boxing shape. Whereas it would have been a lot harder for Dad to get to the point of being as good as he was. So I just thought that all of that taken into consideration, he earned his spot on the rankings there. And you know, also outside of the ring, not that this matters too much, but he really has capitalized a lot on it, and he's very he's super engaging with people. And you know, I think like all of this stuff just played a factor. So I defend the Dad selection. JMX is a tough one. Alex is a really tough one.
Yeah.
And to be
He was
honest,
so
I think I
high.
said this on the stream when I was doing it. I think I forgot the Temper had fought.
Yeah.
I think I was doing it all off memory. I didn't like put in like a huge, like I didn't put in like as much research as I could have done. But you know, I think maybe Alex should have been lower, and maybe he shouldn't have been in there at all, and maybe Temper should have been in there.
Yeah.
Like maybe Alex should have been around lower. I think one that's also proven controversial that you didn't even mention yet is Logan at number 10.
Yeah.
But Logan has also never won a fight, and he's had 3 chances now. Now I know
That's why I
KSI is
didn't
tough,
mention it.
but he like, and the fact of the matter is, he got like, if there were judges, he didn't win a round against Mayweather. Like, he obviously made it the 8 rounds, but he's anyone at Mayweather's level who's Logan's weight, a cruiserweight or a light heavyweight, would have had him out of there in a couple of
Oh
rounds.
yeah.
Um,
I agree with that.
so I think like he used his weight well, and he did very well because he's not that good. Like, you don't want to say he's not that good. He's incredibly good for someone who's been training for a few years. He's not that good by Floyd Mayweather standards.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
Floyd won't have fought anyone at Logan's level, pound for pound, since probably his early career right after the Olympics. Like, he would have fought, like, the guy he fought at the Olympics who he beat, but who he didn't get the decision against, would have probably been better than Logan skill for skill. So I just feel like if he has, like, he did go 8 rounds with Mayweather though, so you can't not put him on the list. He's one of the biggest names. Not that that matters too much, but you know, you can't do a YouTuber boxing list and not put Logan on.
Yeah.
But he's at the bottom of it because he hasn't won any fights yet, and he also doesn't seem to care that deeply about the fact that he hasn't won any fights yet, because he doesn't like rush in. Like, Jake did 3 fights last year. Logan's done 3 fights in his whole life. So, you know, I think, or not last year, Jake did 3 fights in 13 months. But
Yeah.
you know, I think if Logan wanted to be a really good boxer, he definitely could. But I don't think he cares that deeply about it. He cares about other stuff. So that would be why he's so low on the list, is because he hasn't won yet. And you can't put him above any. Like, you couldn't even put him above Alex, really, because Alex won. Like, Alex beat Deji.
But we can make an argument. Like, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, that Logan
I
went
understand.
6 rounds and like a arguably bad decision with the number 2 guy on your list.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
And also one of the best boxers of all time. Like, that's
Yeah,
why he's on
exactly.
there at all. Like, and I do think he beat KSI both times.
Oh, really? You do?
I think he beat KSI in both fights. Like, I think, but I do like, I just think that a different referee probably would have given him a little warning, maybe taken 1 point for the punch. Like, I know that the rule says 2 points, but you know, I could definitely see a referee going, all right, you can't be doing that. But it's their pro debut. They're sub novice level boxers.
And they're in the
I
main
would say, yeah, and like, I would say if I were a referee, I would probably go, hey, you can't be doing that. I would have given KSI some time to recover. 2 points for the first infraction is
crazy.
Is tough in a 6 rounder. That's really, really, really like, that's a very difficult call to make. And you wonder how different the fight would be if KSI is down 2 points in that round. Does he come out and he go even more aggressive towards the end and try to stop Logan? And does Logan try to stop him because he got the knockdown? You know, you wonder. But I think but either way, I think like, I wouldn't have taken the 2 points if I were the referee. I would have had it play out the exact same. Would have given him the time to recover all of that. And I would have been sterner with KSI about like taking the time to recover. I would have been like, you can't just jump back in and like, because JJ just jumped right in after the points got taken. I would, if I were the referee, I would have been like, take the few minutes. But I thought Logan won the first fight. It wasn't even that close. I thought he won 4 rounds probably, and also JJ punched him way after the bell.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Started. That could be a point deduction, which would change everything. But that referee was lenient.
Yeah.
That referee understood it's white collar boxing, it's sub novice. I'm not taking a point off someone for something like that. Come on. And the same with
Exactly.
Ian in his fight with Dr. Mike. End of the fight, he's lost the fight anyway. The referee was, I guess the referee could have been like, hey, take a point off this fella because he threw way after the bell. But yeah, I think either way, the first fight I thought Logan won, and then the second fight, he probably lost or drew based on the scorecards with the 2-point deduction. But I thought you had 12 rounds of them two together, and I thought it was clear who the better boxer was, and it wasn't JJ. But that being said, yeah, he probably should be higher on my list then. I don't know. Maybe I'll rethink it. I'll do another one after Jake and KSI fight in August.
You have to.
And I think there are people on the KSI card who may end up on the list if they impress as I expect them to. But we'll have to see, because I don't even know if that fight that I know is confirmed yet. But yeah, it's super exciting, and yeah, I'm sorry to everyone who was offended by the list. I'd love for other people to make their own and get in touch. Like, I'd love for people to, like, I saw some people doing their own little rankings, and I thought, yeah, I would have maybe put Alex down here. I wouldn't have put him on the list. Like, that's the worst one, isn't it? Alex is the worst.
Alex is really controversial.
The most egregious offender.
Yeah,
because he probably should. Yeah, and at number 5, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, number 5.
That was a bad one. I guess maybe I was thinking, maybe in the back of my head, I might have been thinking, if he's going to be fighting JJ, we want to at least give him a little push in the right direction. No, I'm joking, of course, but no, Alex did, but also Alex did very well against Edgy, and he did very well against Fuzi, and he did very well in the qualifier tournament.
Against Fuzi, did he?
Yeah, like up until he got caught, which can happen at this sub-novice level. Obviously, it shouldn't with the headgear and the big gloves, but he, like, up until he got caught, he was completely dominating Fuzi. Like, it wasn't like he was destroying him.
Yeah.
He had never really boxed before, and Fuzi was in the middle of camp. And then yeah, I thought he did okay in the qualifier tournament for Social Gloves. Like, he won a fight first, didn't he?
But it was against Stromedy, like, once again.
Stromedy's very good. Stromedy's a very good little boxer.
Stromedy was good during the Showstar event, but back then, not at all. He didn't go through a training camp.
No, of course, but I thought he did okay against Bryce. I think Stromedy's maybe Stromedy should go on the list if he has another fight at the start of the year. Stromedy's very good, actually. I like him a lot. He's
really.
He's got a lot. And do you know who I actually think might end up being really good if we ever get to see him box again? Is I think DK Money might be very good.
DK Money's quite good. I agree with that one.
If they put him in against someone who won't headbutt him next time, that'd be nice.
Yeah.